Letters never sent. The ornament fell from the box with a hollow clink, rolling across the wooden floor like it had something to confess. Clara froze. She knelt slowly, picking up the glass bauble, clear, delicate, dusted with faint silver stars. It had belonged to her grandmother, tucked away with old tinsel and fading ribbons. As Clara lifted it toward the light, she noticed something inside. Paper. Her breath caught. Carefully, she twisted the tiny metal cap and eased out a thin, yellowed strip folded many times over. Then another. And another. Letters. She sat cross-legged on the floor as snow whispered against the window, unfolding the first note with trembling fingers. December 12, 1968. My dearest Evelyn, I don't know if I will ever have the courage to give you these words, but loving you has been the quiet miracle of my life. Clara swallowed. Evelyn had been her grandmother's name. The letters were short, written in neat, hopeful handwriting. Each one dated in December, spanning several years. They spoke of stolen glances at church, of laughter shared beneath Christmas lights, of a man who loved deeply but never spoke it aloud. I see you every Sunday, one letter read. I tell myself next week I'll say something. But the world feels fragile, and I'm afraid of breaking what little we have. Clara's chest tightened as she reached the last letter. December 24, 1973. Tomorrow I leave town. If I don't tell you now, I never will. I will carry you with me into every Christmas I have left. The letter ended without a signature. Only a name written once, carefully at the bottom. Thomas. Clara leaned back against the sofa, heart pounding. Her grandmother had married someone else years later. Clara's grandfather, kind, steady, safe. But these letters told a different story. One of a love paused, perhaps abandoned, perhaps simply missed. The next day, Clara followed a trail of quiet clues. Church records, old Christmas programs, a name in a faded newsletter from the town library. Thomas Whitaker. He still lived in town. The care home smelled of pine cleaner and cinnamon. Clara felt absurdly nervous as she was led into a small sitting room where an elderly man sat by the window, watching the snow fall. Mr. Whitaker? She asked softly. He turned, his eyes sharp despite the years. Yes? Clara held out the ornament. I think these belong to you. He stared at it for a long moment. His hands shook as he took it, recognizing it instantly. Slowly, he lowered himself into the chair, as if the weight of memory had settled on his shoulders. I made that ornament, he said. Every year I told myself I'd give it to her. Why didn't you? Clara asked gently. Thomas smiled sadly. Because sometimes love feels too precious to risk. And I was a coward. They sat in silence, the snow falling thicker now. She was happy, Clara said. My grandmother. She had a good life. I know, Thomas replied. That was always enough. Clara stood to leave, but before she did, Thomas reached into his pocket and pressed something into her palm. A small envelope, worn at the edges. One more letter, he said. The only one I ever finished. That night, Clara placed the ornament on her own Christmas tree. The lights glowed softly around it, illuminating the fragile glass and the letters inside. Love, she realized, does not disappear when it goes unspoken. It waits. It endures. Sometimes, it even finds its way home decades later, wrapped in glass and hope, finally seen. Outside, the snow fell quietly, as if listening.